This is Covering the Spread, part of the FanDuel Podcast Network.
Because of the Bills-Steelers postponement to Monday, we get a bit of a marathon across wildcard weekend for the NFL, but it also means we get two games coming up for today. We're going to break down both those games, Bills versus Steelers and BUCS versus Eagles here today on Covering the Spread by talking to Ryan Williams, getting his read on both those games and his favorite props to bet for tonight over at FanDuel Sportsbook. This is Covering the Spread right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network and FanDuel Research. My name is Jim Sanas. I am a managing editor of digital media for FanDuel Research, joined here as I am every Monday by Ryan Williams. Check him out on Twitter at RyanAlexander_W. Ryan, pretty fun start across this opening weekend of the NFL, but two games coming up for today. How you doing?
Oh, we're doing good. I mean, yeah, it's an exciting start to the weekend already. Why would it be named Super Wildcard Weekend if we weren't going to get the disappointing Cowboys showing up, the Browns and Joe Flacco bubble being bursted on the first day of games? So, you know, this just the nature of the beast. I can't wait to see what happens today as the Bills are 10-point favorites and what will be known as the Ice Snow Bowl, whatever number we're on now.
I've seen some videos of the cleanup that's going on at the Bill Stadium, and it doesn't look good so far. They're halfway up the upper deck, still trying to shovel that thing out. Imagine trying to play that game on Sunday. No shot. No shot. They did the right thing in postponing it, but it's still going to be pretty gross for today. We've seen that total go up 5 points as a result of the postponement, so maybe we get some more fun for this one than we would have had then. But overall, we're going to break down that game and the Eagles versus BUCS as well here today on the show. But first, a reminder to make sure you're subscribed to Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcast. Tomorrow, I'll give my first look at all 4 divisional round games once those matchups are set. Let you know where I see value within my numbers over at FanDuel Sportsbook, going game by game there, and a lot of fun stuff planned throughout the rest of this week as well. So make sure you're subscribed to Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you hear, leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can also find a video version of the show on the FanDuel YouTube page and on FanDuel TV Plus. When it comes to the NFL playoffs, you've got to win one game at a time. When you bet the NFL playoffs, one game can mean a lot of wins. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, has all your favorite bets like the money line and spread, and there's all sorts of prop bets like quarterback passing yards, who will score the first touchdown. Plus, every day there's an NFL playoff game. FanDuel is giving all customers a no-sweat same-game parlay. That means when you combine all your bets for a chance at a bigger payday, you'll get bonus bets back if your SGP doesn't win. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. Minimum 3-leg parlay required. Refund issued as nominal trouble bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Kentucky, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, Virginia, and Vermont. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9 in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700 visit ksgamblinghealth.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana, visit mdgamblinghealth.org in Maryland, call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming, or 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia. Let's begin things now with that first game on the docket for today. That is the Steelers at the Bills right now at FanDuel Sportsbook. The Bills are 10-point favorites, and the total in this game is 38.5. And Ryan has mentioned the total in this game went up 5 points with the move to Monday night versus Sunday. So any interest in either the new set total for you or the spread for this game?
Yeah, I think we'll start with the spread, Jim, and I just feel like 10 is it's just too much. They've gotten an extra day to prepare. I should say the Steelers, that is. I mean, Buffalo too. And we've seen so many performances where Buffalo can put up points. And I get why the number is here, but just the fact that there hasn't been any movement basically at all on this number for quite some time is making me a little bit weary to take the Bills in this nature. I think that, we might get some overreaction maybe to how the early games have been going so far Super Wildcard Week. I know it's Mason Rudolph, it's on the road, but this is still a Mike Tomlin coach team. This is still a Pittsburgh team. I know they're missing TJ Watt, and I know he's worth a lot, but I don't know if he's worth them losing by double digits here. They've been able to get the ground game going. This Buffalo defense has still been suspect. They're still without some key pieces. On the other side, the Steelers are getting Minkah Fitzpatrick back. There's no Gabe Davis for Buffalo. Like, it just shapes up to be kind of an ugly game. And, would it shock us to see that, Buffalo stall on some drives potentially, or, the Steelers get a defensive play, get short field? I just like the 10 here. The over, or I should say the total being at 38.5 is a little bit weary. I think even, I'm trying to think of what it would be like, even, when you're pushing, you're looking at, 23-10. I mean, it is a low number, it's still in Buffalo. I still can see points being scored here. But, I also see this being an ugly game, which is why I'm kind of staying away from it. But the bet that I really like getting on is the Steelers plus 10 here. I think, especially for Buffalo, like, are you looking ahead knowing that you are playing Kansas City yet again in the playoffs? You're going to be hosting them, next week. Like, the narratives are kind of just spewing in my head, and double digits is a lot. I get it. The Packers just took care of business, on the road. The Texans took care of business at home. And we did have some blowouts this week, but I think when everybody's kind of, especially when you're looking at the public sides on where things are going, in this matchup, I think, this is kind of set up for the Steelers to come in here and cover in a setting that's not going to be, comfortable, I think, for either team.
Yeah, I do think the spread is heavily influenced by how you view the total in this game, because if you think this game plays under and it plays the way it could, the way we thought it might if it were played Sunday morning, that's where you take the Steelers plus 10, minus 110 right now at FanDuel Sportsbook, because if you're not expecting a lot of points to be scored, it's tougher to cover a bigger number. It's not impossible. Like the Chiefs would have covered this number in a game that went well under that total for the Chiefs versus Dolphins game. Like, it can happen where it goes under and a team still covers, but if you think that 38.5 is about right, then taking the 10 makes sense. For me, I like the over in this game still. I talked about that on Monday last week, going through game by game. I adjust a lot for wind. And even when adjusting for wind, I can't get anywhere near. It was 35.5 at that time, now to 38.5 with the postponement. Like, I can't get anywhere near that. I saw this game at 42.7 personally, because I've got the Bills favored by 10.4 points. So like that correlates with the over, correlates with more points. I did downgrade the Steelers defense, no TJ Watt, not just their pass defense, but also he hurts their rush defense to not have him in there. So a couple factors lead that way. So if you are, thinking like Ryan, where it's like, okay, I see this as a sloppy game. I see not a lot of points here. It makes sense to take the Steelers plus 10. For me, I see no value in the total or in the spread, which is why I'm looking at the total, and I do like the over there at 38.5. Now, the fact that I don't think it should have come out 5 points from Sunday to Monday, I think that was a bit weird, so that makes me a bit weary of saying over still at the higher number, but that's kind of where I'm at with that one. Is I think the over is my favorite play in the traditional markets of this game, similar to what we talked about last week. Now, let's talk about some props in this game, Ryan. No Gabe Davis here for the Bills with a knee injury. Any props stand out to you on the Bills side when you consider both the Davis injury, but also the pretty extreme weather we've got in this game?
Yeah, I love the pass catcher, the main pieces on Buffalo outside of Stephon Diggs this week. And again, Minkah Fitzpatrick playing, like, I love Stephon Diggs. I think that the number is right on him at 64.5. If you want to take that at minus 110, can't blame you at all. But we know how much Josh Allen loves to spread the ball around. Like, this has been the narrative tale as old as time. Like, this is why Stephon Diggs is always complaining every year when it comes into the season, because he's not getting his touches, because that's just the nature of the beast with Josh Allen. And so when we're looking at the other pieces here, let's look at Dalton Kincaid. Let's look at Khalil Shakir. I absolutely love every prop on Khalil Shakir this week. I think that in the numbers are speaking as such. His receiving prop is minus 146 over 2.5. Like, I still like that number. Love James Cook props. His receiving prop at 2.5 at minus 102 is absolutely outrageous. He's been such a key factor for this team that James Cook props are staring me in the face. And then it's Dalton Kincaid. I mean, we know that how much Josh Allen has loved the tight ends in the past. This has been a Dawson Knox role for so many years, and Dalton Kincaid has really come into the fold. And like the rookie tight ends, even the just rookie receiving weapons, like in the playoffs, how many times have we seen them show out already thus far? It's been pretty outstanding to see, and I think Dalton Kincaid gets in that mix. And you're seeing the juice priced as such on these pieces without Gabe Davis being there at minus 130 for Dalton Kincaid on his receptions. But I still think that there is value to be on these guys in the props market. I think even if you want to look at alt receptions for these guys, I mean, once you get to 3, it's plus money for Freiermuth. Once you get to 4, plus money for Khalil Shakir. And I absolutely love that, because I think they're going to be trying to utilize these pieces, especially if I'm thinking that it's a neutral skip game. You know, I think that a lot of people will look at James Cook, and I still think there's value there playing him in DFS. I get all of that nature of the business, but if this is a close game, we know that Buffalo thinks about passes just as much as they think about runs. Neutral game script. I know the offensive coordinator has changed up without Ken Dorsey being there, but they're still doing that same mechanism to move the ball. And so with me taking, the 10 for the Steelers, I'm still liking the pieces here for the receiving weapons. I think even when you're looking at Josh Allen props, from a touchdown perspective, like him to throw 2 touchdowns in this game is plus money. I just don't really understand it. I guess if you're saying, with it being under 40 and Josh Allen, he has the propensity in the red zone to, run it. But this team with the Steelers, they just stack the box so heavily that I think we could see, some shovel passes and things of that nature coming to fruition when they get inside the 20. So I absolutely love Josh Allen to over prop at plus 112. I just think it's a fun offense to get prop action on. You're missing such a key piece, and I know that people will look at it. It's not the same as Stephon Diggs missing, but it is still a big enough piece, especially with how Gabe Davis has been utilized in the past in the playoffs to take advantage of the market for Josh Allen's pass catchers.
So I want to go back to Khalil Shakir. Alternate receptions, as you mentioned. I think that's a pretty interesting market to look at, because the Steelers team, we talked about this a lot this year with JJ Zachariason on our Friday shows, they get beat by slot players a lot, and Shakir tends to operate there. The question would be, is he out there a lot if they decide to go run heavy given the weather? I'm not really sure about that part, but alternate receptions for Shakir: 4+ receptions plus 158, 5+ receptions plus 310, 6+ receptions plus 580. And Ryan, how many receptions did Khalil Shakir have last week when Gabe Davis got hurt early? He had 6. Now, it was on 6 targets, so bit of flukiness there. But I think that looking towards alt markets on Shakir and the reception number, I don't really want the yardage number because I'm worried about downfield passing, given the wind and stuff like that. But I think that's where I'd want to go, is towards Shakir alt reception markets, because I want that upside. There is some volatility in his role, because will he be out there in 2 receiver sets, or will it be Trent Sherfield, who was playing more outside last week with Davis getting banged up? But I think you can take advantage of the volatility here with Shakir. So for me personally, I think that's where I would go, is towards the Shakir alt reception market, and identify what your favorite spot there is, how high you're comfortable going, because I do think that from a schematic perspective, he's a guy who does mesh well. That's the market where I'd want to look towards Shakir for tonight. What about the Steelers side? We know they've been pretty good run the football since their bye week. Mason Rudolph has kind of made this offense perk up, but it's a lot of fluky downfield stuff and some long touchdowns that have kind of keyed that in. So tough spot here. What's your view of the Steelers side here, Ryan?
Yeah, the Steelers side is a little tough. It just, especially with Mason Rudolph, it's just hard to pinpoint who is going to be the guy. We've seen George Pickens be explosive and then get pretty much blanked. His only stat, I believe, the last time that they were out there was a rushing stat for 5 yards. And then, it was Deontay Johnson. Najee Harris, he's really come into the fold as of late. So I can't blame anybody for wanting and taking Najee props here. I do think his rushing prop at 60.5 is just a little bit high for my liking. I do like the Jaylen Warren prop at 34.5. I just feel like they've been utilizing these guys as a two-headed monster. In this kind of situation, reminds me a little bit about the Dallas situation, which is, kind of weird to bring up the day after the loss for them. But, it's the Tony Pollard kind of mechanism. Like Tony Pollard is always going to be the on-paper guy. He's always the on-paper play. But why is Rico Dowdle and I'm blanking on the rookie now, that Deuce Vaughn, these guys still being involved. And Jaylen Warren has been involved pretty much every step of the way. It's just Najee has been able to break off these runs. But Najee was thought to be dust at the beginning of the season. Like people didn't want anything to do with him. Like in fantasy, he wasn't, kind of the guy. I love that they've been getting him involved here. I do think that a lot of this, especially, in a playoff game for the Steelers, is going to lean on the ground. But that's why I like Jaylen Warren. I'm just going to take the cheaper some touches here in a matchup. And if they are able to kind of Najee, I think we see more Jaylen Warren. So I love Jaylen Warren. I think George Pickens absolutely gets going against this team. 43.5 is his receiving prop, but I love the receptions and all receptions plus money on 3.5 receptions for him. I think they could absolutely just pepper him and get him going here in a playoff matchup in a game where they know they need to win. You're looking at 4 receptions at plus 102 there, 5 receptions plus 210, 6 receptions plus 400, 4-1 there on that. I just think he's such a big part of what this offense is when they're explosive. And I could really see him get going today.
All right. As you mentioned, the Pickens one, 4+ receptions, plus 102. The 5+ is plus 210. Going back to Warren, the rushing yardage number there is 34.5. And then rushing plus receiving for Warren is 47.5 with the over at minus 114. Any other props? Any touchdown bets? Anything you like across the rest of this game, Ryan?
No, I mentioned the Josh Allen touchdown prop there at 2.5 plus money. I think I do like that. And then I will be looking at some defensive props there. Minka to record an interception is plus 750, which I think is pretty nice. I think, Josh Allen to throw an interception, if I'm not mistaken, is also plus. No, I'm sorry. Josh Allen to throw an interception is minus 138. So I think, the book is projecting that there are some turnovers in this game. Rudolph is minus 132. And so if you take a player, I think, any of those guys in the secondary is fun to get, some action on. But Minka is the guy, they've made a lot about him being able to start in this game. He could have played in the Baltimore game, but they held him out. I think he tries to, make some action there. Plus 750. I'm taking that.
But Josh Allen doesn't throw picks ever, right? So Minka Fitzpatrick plus 750 for a pick in this first game. Let's talk about the nightcap now. That is the Eagles at the Buccaneers. We're right now at FanDuel Sportsbook. It is back to a 3-point spread in favor of the Eagles. And the money line, minus 156 the Eagles, plus 132 for the Bucs. Total in this game is 43.5. Now, we know there's no A.J. Brown. Spread is still 3 points here, which is where it was before A.J. Brown was ruled out. Any interest in buying the Bucs now that you're getting a full field goal on this spread, Ryan, or are the Eagles better undervalued here?
Yeah, I think they're a little bit undervalued. I mean, I really just want to hammer Eagles tonight. I just, there's been so much made of this team, so much made about Nick Sirianni. Is he the guy? It's kind of like the inverse of what they were dealing with as opposed to Dallas. I mean, a lot of people were saying there was pressure on Dallas, but I think, they were like, it's a home matchup. They're getting the Green Bay Packers, they're the low seed. No low seed has won. Like, I think everything was kind of shaping up and people were like, yeah, like Dallas, there's no way they can lose this game. And on the opposite side, it's like, Philly kind of, they kind of have a chance to lose, and the Tampa Bay's so hot, and look at what this team is doing. But it's still the Philadelphia Eagles. I will say the one concerning thing for me is the defense, which is why this is the opposite game for me. I actually love the over in this game. I mean, Baker just has DGAF, written all over him. Like he's gonna throw the ball like 45 plus times today. I truly believe that. unless they're able to get Rachaad White going, who I love as well too. But I do think the over screams to take it at under 44. That's a nice number to get. I loved the Eagles when they were 2.5. The 3 is a little bit more weary, but it's minus 105 right now. I think we can still get action on that. The thing about AJ Brown not being there, it's AJ Brown, and I'm not going to say he doesn't affect this offense because that would be silly to say, but I will say it's kind of the same thing like Buffalo. Jalen Hurts just spreads the ball around. You love that Dallas Goedert is back healthy and he still's got Devonta Smith. Do we see vintage Julio somehow come out of his shell? Quez Watkins is explosive. They still have pieces to be able to move the ball against this Tampa Bay defense. So, and AJ Brown hasn't been a factor as of late. That could be why they've been losing games. And so I don't blame people for, wanting to take the 3 there, especially now that it's moved at half a point. But I'm gonna take the Eagles and just ride the wave with this team and think about me knowing who I know who they are or who I thought they were, and seeing if that showcases tonight.
Yeah, the only problem here is you mentioned the 2.5, you liked it more. That's moved a lot. It's minus 130 now if you want to take the 2.5 as opposed to the 3. So you are paying a tax there if you want to lay the 3 instead. That is currently minus 105, as you alluded to. So a very big difference in the alt market in terms of the minus 2.5 versus the minus 3. Here, I have the BUCS. We talked about that on Monday too. I don't feel great about it. I kind of thought we'd get bad injury news from either Jalen Hurts or AJ Brown. We got that, and it still has moved against me. So I'm a moron. I don't know what happened here. But the numbers are what they are. I've got this game closer to a pick, honestly. So that is where it is. I got nothing for you. What I said on last week's show about Eagles defense stinks. The Bucs have been efficient enough passing. It's not as penalizing for them to run the ball here as it is against other teams because they're terrible on the football. They have their issues. Even the model I have that hates them more because it penalizes them for being inefficient on early downs. It still has this game as a pick. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to say as far as that goes. But the total, I agree with your thoughts on it. I've got this game at 44.5 right now. For my numbers, over is minus 105. Weather here tonight, there could be some rain, but it appears to be pretty light rain, and the wind speed is just 4 miles per hour. So I think we could see points here for sure. My one concern is that finger for Hurts. How much does that impact their game plan in this game? Do they go more run heavy because that drains clock, stuff like that, against a Bucs defense that can typically stop the run? Did not do so, and they played back in week 3, but that'd be my one concern here is not really sure what Hurts' health will be based on that finger. Now, Brown's absence obviously impacts the Eagles player props too. So I need to say that to you with what you're seeing right now, Ryan.
Yeah. Are you talking about Tampa Bay props or Eagles?
Let's start with the Eagles and talk about them without AJ Brown.
No, fair enough. Sorry, I was actually looking at Jalen Hurts. I got stuck here because I do like some of his rushing props. I forgot about the finger there. But no, when we're talking about receiving, I do love Dallas Goedert. Props. I just feel like the tight end, especially in this matchup, I feel like he's going to get going with AJ Brown not being there. He's 52.5 on the yardage prop, which seems reasonable. But again, we'll go back to the receptions market. It's just going to be one where I feel like he's going to have to pepper these guys. Now, Dallas Goedert is already at 5.5. So you're looking at plus money there. I wish it was a little bit lower, even like a 4.5 to get that 5 number. But people are betting these, and rightfully so. I think when you're looking at the alt market there, if you're looking at alt markets, I think you should look at Devonta Smith from a receiving yard standpoint, because of how explosive we know that this offense can be. And what does Devonta Smith do? He's the down the field stretcher for them. And especially in this matchup without AJ Brown, I expect him to get going there. And so, looking at 80 yards, 90 yards, even 100 yards, because I'm expecting so many points to be scored in this game. This is where I'd want to get the action on it. And you can already see the market's priced as such, with 100 yards alternate market being at less than 3-1 for Devonta Smith, which is just, that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. I wish we had some alt markets on other receiving options, that being Julio Jones or Quez Watkins, because I think one of these two guys has to step up. If it was yardage side, I'm more apt to go with Quez Watkins because he is so explosive.
Right.
But I think Julio Jones is the one that kind of really stands out to me. I believe he's near 4-1 to score a touchdown tonight. Plus 390 to score a touchdown. I like that big body receiver. Somebody who they have to trust in the end zone. Even then, like with the finger injury, like it has not. I believe it's only happened 4 times this year where Jalen Hurts has thrown for more than 1 touchdown. But he is plus money yet again in the passing market to throw for 2 touchdowns. Both him and Baker Mayfield are coming in at plus money for 2 touchdowns, plus 148 for Jalen Hurts there. Like I think that this is a chance on the road where he can get going and kind of put an end to the doubters there. I think it's a fun team to get action on yet again. Like them and Buffalo are the most fun teams to get props on because they are missing those pieces, and I think that there are going to be ways to take advantage of these. So I want to make sure I have a dabble on a lot of pieces.
Yeah. You mentioned the Hurts over 1.5 touchdowns passing. That is plus 148 right now. I'm curious what that would be versus a rushing 2+ touchdowns. If he's more likely to get 2+ rushing touchdowns or 2+ passing touchdowns. But the one prop I like on the Eagles side is aggressively boring. I like DeAndre Swift under 10.5 receiving yards, minus 110. Has not been involved in the passing game basically the entire second half of the year. That's more so Kenneth Gainwell's sweet spot. And it also allows me to potentially get some exposure to being wary of that finger injury for Jalen Hurts. Because if they decide to go run heavy, they're going to ground and pound with Swift versus throwing him the football. He just hasn't been involved that much as a pass catcher recently. So it's boring, but Swift under 10.5 receiving yards, minus 110, the one read I have as far as Eagles props in this game. The Bucs, Ryan, they're pretty steady. They've been effectively the same thing all year. So any edges for you on their side of the prop market?
Yeah, you're right. It's steady, which makes it so boring and so unappealing to get props on these pieces because it kind of just is what it is. I will say the one interesting piece for me is going to be Rachaad White with his rushing and receiving prop. I believe when I last checked, I'm pulling it up here.
89.5, minus 118 on the over.
89.5. I mean, we talked about this a lot of times when it gets to these 90 numbers with some of the, Austin Eckler. I feel like we've talked about a lot. James Cook, we've talked about a lot, like these guys who are involved in this. And when it gets so high, it's like, can we go there? But this is what it is, Jim. This is what this guy does. He's been so involved in the offense. Like this is a right number. I think, especially from the receiving market prop, I could see him getting some dump offs and really being able, to get some yardage with those pieces. And so I love getting him, over 21.5 at minus 110 as well too, to kind of help with that rushing and receiving prop number. Mike Evans is just, this guy is just he's been so amazing. He's a future Hall of Famer. Like he's got, one less season of 1,000 yards in his career than Jerry Rice. Like, and that's it. I forget what the number is, 9 or 10, whatever it is. Like he's one behind Jerry Rice. It's absolutely insane. He's been such a catalyst. He's been such a big piece as well for this team, especially in home playoff games. Now, granted, he got 2 great years with Tom Brady to be able to, be in the mix there, or 2-3 years. But I still like what Baker Mayfield's been doing with him. I think from a receptions prop, like Chris Godwin is also interesting. He's minus 166 to get 5 catches. Like that's just how much it says how much him and Mike Evans are involved here. So I would look at the alt mark for Chris Godwin, again, slot receiver or plays mostly out of the slot, could really get a lot of those catches there. As Trey Palmer is gonna be involved, Cade Otton, as well. I think him and Baker have a really nice rapport. I think Cade Otton anytime touchdown is interesting. at plus 470 when they get there. I just think he really loves to target, Kate Otten, Mike Evans, and such when they get down there. But yeah, they're pretty, they're pretty just run of the mill, like basic. It is kind of just hard. I could see it being Mike Evans game. You could see Chris Godwin getting involved. You could see kind of Baker spreading it out. It could be a Rachaad White game. It's really tough to kind of pinpoint where the action is going to be coming in on. But for me, it's going to be Rachaad White and Mike Evans.
Yeah, the Chris Godwin all reception number, 6+ receptions, plus 110 right now, FanDuel Sportsbook. I think Evans is another guy you can look towards for alternate receiving yardage markets, given that he has like this like insane downfield ability. Now, I will say, kind of like you said with the Devontae Smith, you're not going to catch FanDuel sleeping in alt markets for Mike Evans because he's plus 255 for 100+ yards. It's not great. So like they get it. They understand the assignment and they know that Mike Evans can have those long plays. You're not going to catch them sleeping there. Any final props you want to lay out from this game, Ryan?
No, those are the main ones for me. Like you said, it will be looking at Jalen Hurts as well too. I guess I should say Jalen Hurts rushing yards. I did see it was 40 and a half was the number there, and I do think there's some interesting merit for that if the pocket breaks down on him. So I'd be willing to get on that number as well.
All righty. That is all that we have here for today. Should be a fun one. Our third consecutive day of doubleheaders here in the wild card round. Back with you once again tomorrow. We'll be breaking down my thoughts on all 4 divisional round games, going game by game there with the first look, and then shows coming up every day throughout the rest of this week as well. Ryan, I want to thank you for swinging by for today. Enjoy the rest of wild card weekend. We'll talk to you once again in the very near future.
Yeah, Jim, I can't wait, man. Have a good Monday. Enjoy.
Same to you. Good luck. That is Ryan Williams. Check him out on Twitter at RyanAlexander_W. I am on Twitter at Jim Sonis. You can find me on Threads at Jim.Sonis, and you can follow FanDuel Research on Twitter at FanDuel Research. Want to thank you all for tuning in for today. Good luck to you with your bets across Monday's games. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow to get you set for the divisional round. This has been Covering the Spread right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network.